Oh, we're not done with this show yet. If you want my thoughts on Season 5, check out this video, then come back here. For this video, I'm going to be rewriting the Season 5 plot, if you can call it that. Ian, Andrew, get a pen and paper and take some fucking notes. For this to really work, I'm going to have to keep the same general elements that are currently present in Season 5. That means that Morgan is still the lead, the mission is still helping people, Logan and Virginia are still our villains, our group still ends up in the nuclear area, the kids are still present, the CRM are knocking about, Dwight and Daniel are here too, the nuclear plant is still going to melt down, the oil fields are contested. With all that said, let's start broad. First half of the season will deal with Logan and escaping the nuclear meltdown zone, with hints of the CRM. Second half of the season will deal with Virginia. We're getting rid of the fucking walkie-talkies, however. I need to limit communication here. We're basically keeping the same framework here, just shifting stuff around and shoving in a good character arc here and there. Final note, all of the characters here are their new renditions. There will be no focus to Ericsson's vision of the show. I want to prove that this version of the show can actually be good with some better writing. Right, now all of that is out of the way, let's get started. Episode 1 starts with our group at the denim factory, but with one big difference. The oil fields are already part of the story, and our group is using it to fuel their vehicles. Our group at the factory is Morgan, Alicia, John, June and Althea. Our team at the oil fields is Strand, Sarah, Wendell, Luciana and Charlie. They've had no luck finding anyone to help so far, but they're not giving up. There's no more of this leaving supplies out in the open. Instead, we're using the vehicles as mini bases. The small trucks have enough supplies for a few days, the SWAT truck doubles as a small portable base, along with enough supplies for a few days. The big rig is a fully portable base with enough supplies for a week. Remember this, it will be important later. The way Logan takes the factory is basically the same as in Season 5, with one key difference. Instead of flying over, Morgan, Alicia, John, June and Althea take the SWAT truck and head over to help. Logan takes the factory whilst they're gone, and starts looking for clues to find the oil fields. Episode ends with our group turning up at the truck stop Logan mentioned, finding more than enough evidence that they didn't make it in time to save Logan. Or so they think. At the end of episode 1, half of our group is far from home, limited on supplies, and unbeknownst to them, have lost their home base. Maybe this helping people thing isn't so good after all. Episode 2 has an A plot and a B plot. A plot is our SWAT group realising they're not getting out of the area they're in. B plot is the oil field group finding out about Logan. We start with our group at the truck stop, taking stock of the situation and concluding that Logan is indeed dead. They decide to load up on what's left and head back to the factory. Back at the oil fields, our guys need a resupply of the essentials and head back to the factory to get it. This group is Sarah, Wendell and Luciana. They get to the factory and find Logan. They try to negotiate peacefully, but Logan opens fire. Our group loses the big rig they used to transport supplies, including oil, but manage to escape in one of the smaller trucks. Luciana is shot in the firefight, covering Wendell getting into the truck. Our SWAT group leaves the same way they came in, but find an impenetrable roadblock. This wasn't natural. Someone's got it out for them. Episode 2 ends with our SWAT group trapped, with a nice mystery to boot, and our oil fields group with one injured member, no home base, and only a few days of supplies. Things aren't going well so far. Episode 3 brings in some new characters, Daniel on the oil field side, and the kids on the SWAT side. The episode starts with our oil field group looking for some more supplies, whilst trying to treat Luciana without a nurse. Wendell puts his military pass to some use and stays behind with Sarah. Strand and Charlie head out to scavenge. They run into Daniel, who is busy disarming these traps. Strand and Charlie ask him for help, but he refuses. He doesn't trust Strand. They get caught off guard arguing and have to fight a small group of walkers. The group scavenge for a bit. They come away with nothing. Strand and Charlie are pissed because they're going to run out of food, and Daniel is pissed because it turns out he's after that sweet black gold. He's stranded a little too far from his warehouse and has been living out of a car for the past few days. Our group comes up with a trade, supplies in exchange for oil. On the SWAT side, our group are still looking for a way out. They try some more roads, but all are blocked. While stuck at one of the roadblocks, our group hears something all too unfamiliar. A helicopter. They spot it and make some haste to get over there. Turns out that someone else saw the helicopter. These kids. The helicopter is gone, but a camp has been left behind. Episode 4 focuses on our SWAT group and learning a bit more about the CRM. The kids join our group for the protection they offer, and they start to search what's left of the CRM camp. They find some supplies, and most importantly, a map. Turns out that the area they're in is in range of a nuclear reactor, and the CRM has reason to believe that it's about to melt down. They're building a perimeter to stop unsuspecting survivors from waltzing in, and using the helicopter to scout for anyone to extract. They've concluded that no one is here and have left the area before it goes nuclear. From this point on, the CRM are done with. All we know about them is that they are a very powerful force and have some crazy manpower. Episode ends with our group essentially fucked. A simple mission to help someone might have gotten them all killed. Tensions rise and Morgan's ideology is called into question. That has to wait though. For now, we have to focus on getting the hell out of here. Episode 5 goes back to an A plot and a B plot. A plot is our SWAT group running into Dwight, and the B plot is our oil field group heading back to Daniel's base. The episode begins with our group back at the truck stop. They're figuring out what to do, with arguments breaking out. Tensions are through the roof right now. Everything falls silent when a car is heard outside though. It's Dwight. He looks tense as hell and is carrying someone, Grace. He explains that he and Grace were trying to keep the plant under control. Grace is very sick and Dwight thought it best for them to get out of Dodge. June takes a look at her and concludes that Grace is suffering from radiation sickness. She is not pregnant in this version of the story. Grace is a ticking time bomb, but our group's kind-hearted nature chooses to keep her alive. Tensions are pretty high between Dwight and Morgan because of the whole Negan situation. The group is running out of time, and with 5 new additions, supplies are at an all-time low. They look around the truck stop again for things to help Grace, and come across a radio. They try to contact the oil field group using it, and come to a stark realization. They're out of range. Logan can't have called them at all. They've been tricked. Back at the oil fields, our group is having a little more luck. Luciana is recovering from her gunshot wound, and Daniel heads back to his base with Strand and Charlie. There's a lot of tension between Strand and Daniel on the way, but Daniel takes a liking to Charlie. Daniel has the same warehouse he has in the actual show, and the group heads back to the oil fields with the goods. Episode 6 keeps it simple with the SWAT team. They use the CRM's map to locate a long-range radio tower that they can use to communicate with the group at the oil fields. Problem is, it's dangerously close to the nuclear reactor. Dwight, Morgan, and Alicia head over to the tower in Dwight's car. On the car ride, we get some exposition on how Dwight ended up here. It's basically the same story as the actual show. Alicia finally learns both sides of what happened back at Alexandria. Whoever is left at the truck stop packs up and heads to the first roadblock the group encountered to attempt to clear it. At the tower, the group works to fix the tower and reach out to the oil fields. They're ambushed by some walkers. Alicia tells the guys to carry on working and heads out to fight the horde. She clears them and gets soaked in blood. Turns out that the walkers were radioactive, and now Alicia is going to suffer the same fate as Grace. Contrast this with Morgan and Dwight reaching the oil fields and giving them the lowdown. The episode ends with a siren from the nuclear plant going off. Episode 7 finally brings our group together. Team Oilfield coming to sort out the roadblock with some explosives, courtesy of Daniel, and Team SWAT under some intense time pressure. Pretty simple stuff. Our groups just have to reach each other before the plant goes into meltdown. The SWAT team is pissed at Morgan for falling for Logan's trick, and the oil fields are pissed at Logan for taking the denim factory. Our group meets up at the end of the episode, everyone is back together, it's a nice happy ending for once. The oil field group, along with Althea, Dwight and Alicia, are all for putting Logan down for screwing them so badly. Morgan, John, June, Grace and the kids are against it. The group heads back to Daniel's warehouse and prepares to take back the factory. Violently or peacefully, it's yet to be seen. Morgan and Grace share some sweet moments and build some chemistry, just like in the main show. It's the mid-season finale. Our group is armed to the teeth and has the manpower to outnumber Logan. Morgan believes that this advantage will allow them to resolve everything peacefully. The group rocks up at the denim factory and finds it deserted. Logan made his move whilst they were clearing the roadblock. The group heads to the oil fields. Morgan, Alicia, Dwight, Strand, Sarah, Wendell, John and Luciana head in. June, Grace, Charlie and the kids stay in the SWAT truck. In the oil fields, our group runs into a standoff with Logan. He tells them to back off and that what he is doing is bigger than any of them. Morgan refuses. Logan isn't dumb, however, and was expecting the group to come knocking. A shot rings and Wendell is taken out. Logan tells the group to back down or he'll signal again. In my version, he wants the oil fields at any cost, but is smarter about his methods. Morgan's ego has gotten someone killed now, and everyone knows it. There's a bit more back and forth, but Logan has Morgan cornered. Just as they're about to give in, another shot rings, but no one is hit. Turns out that sniper shot was loud, and has attracted a pretty sizable group of walkers. Everyone scatters and fights for their survival. In the midst of everything, Morgan sees Logan struggling with some walkers. He has the chance to save him, but Morgan does nothing and Logan dies. Nobody sees this. Once the carnage dies down, our group is left standing, and the conflict seems to be over. Morgan can't fully grapple what he's done. Okay, let's run down the facts. In the first half alone, we now have a coherent story with fairly reasonable occurrences. We've teased the power of the CRM, brought in everyone who we needed to, and actually killed a main character to boot. We also have some dangling threads for the second half. What's going to happen to Alicia and Grace? Will anyone find out what Morgan did? How will his mindset change in the second half? How is the group dynamic going to change now that Morgan is held responsible for Wendell's death and Alicia's sickness? Already, I think that my version is a lot better. It makes sense, and whilst I'm keeping it broad, with some good detailed writing and thought out character interactions, I truly believe that it could be some pretty great television, even if what I've got to work with isn't the best. The mid-season premiere starts with our group in Daniel's warehouse. They've had to permanently move from the denim factory since Logan ransacked the place. Tensions have calmed since the Logan incident, with one exception. Sarah absolutely hates Morgan for Wendell's death. Our group are no longer going out of their way to help people. They're just keeping to themselves for the most part. I want this episode to mostly focus on showing the repercussions from the Logan situation. There's no big set pieces here, just some good old-fashioned character dynamics. The episode ends with Virginia showing up at their door. I want to rework her a little for my version of the story. In the actual show, she helps people but kills liabilities. In my version, she's still establishing communities, but only with her people in charge. I'm introducing her so early because I'd like to build her character in the second half and provide grounds for an interesting conflict here. Episode 10 switches it up and is Virginia focused. We find out that she contracted Logan to locate the oil fields. Her group also got ambushed by the herd that wiped out Logan. They were forced to some high ground and saw the massacre unfold. The key here is that Virginia saw what Morgan did. They scout the oil fields for a while and end up following our group back to the warehouse. The timeline catches up to the end of episode 9 here. Virginia lays it out nice and simple. We're building a new world and want everyone to be a part of it. If you don't want to be a part of it, now's your time to leave. She has the numbers to back herself up and isn't messing around. She wants the warehouse and the oil fields. The group is actually ready to join before Daniel and Strand stop them. They can both tell a con a mile away. There's something Virginia is keeping secret. Our group doesn't know that Virginia contracted Logan. Virginia isn't evil though. She lets our group take plenty of supplies and transport to keep themselves going. She also keeps the kids, including Charlie. She has a soft spot for them and doesn't want to send them out to suffer. Episode ends with our group on the road, looking for a place to stay. Episode 11 is similar to episode 9. We're more focused on the wedge between our group now. Nothing has gone right for our group recently, and it's taking a toll. Wendell's dead, Virginia took their home, and now they've lost the kids. Our group finds nothing throughout the episode. But at the end of the episode, they come across some survivors outside of the shopping mall we saw in the actual show. Amongst them is the roof dude, Wes, and the rabbi. Our group asks what happened. Turns out Virginia also came knocking for them. There's a little difference though. The mall group refused Virginia's deal and fought her off. Virginia escaped and came back later to steer a herd directly at them. Episode 12 should scratch that zombie killing itch for you. Our group has another choice to make. Do they help the mall group and have a place to stay, or do they just keep going? Our group is desperate and agrees to help. The whole episode is dedicated to clearing the mall. Think the prison clear from The Walking Dead, but on a much grander scale and with some casualties. Our roof guy gets bitten and Grace collapses whilst fighting. She doesn't make it. Our ticking time bomb character has been taken out before the clock hits 0. Morgan sees this and goes full clear mode. This whole chain of events all leads back to him choosing to help Logan. People have died and he's slowly turning back to the dark side. The episode ends on a nicer note. We get the stars moment with the roof guy and buried Grace. The group moves into the mall. Morgan is clearly unhinged however, and people are beginning to notice. Episode 13 goes back to our A-plot, B-plot format. A-plot is the mall group figuring out what to do about Virginia. B-plot is the kids experiencing Virginia's rule firsthand. Our group knows that they can't just go and kick over Virginia's sandcastle. She has way too many people as well as the kids as leverage. They come up with a plan to draw Virginia to them. There's enough supplies in the mall to turn it into a death trap. Tensions rise however. This is going against our group's established morals, but as we know, these boundaries are rotting from the core. Back at the warehouse, things aren't actually as bad as they seem. Virginia's group functions well and is very spread out. They have lots of communities all over Texas. Charlie notices something on their community map however. There are big X's over certain buildings. One of the X's is over the denim factory, and the other is at the truck stop that the SWAT group went to save Logan. Charlie finds out that Logan was working for Virginia, and realizes Virginia's ultimatum. You join, you leave, or you die. Either way, Virginia's group walk away with everything. Episode 14 is our group getting the plan together. Daniel, Strand, Alicia, Luciana, Althea, Dwight, Sarah, and everyone at the shopping mall are all for stomping Virginia out. John and June just want to save the kids, but if that means killing Virginia, so be it. Morgan wants a peaceful solution, but is teetering on the edge of his clear mentality. The plan is simple. They need the fight on their home turf, the mall. There's still one missing link, however, Charlie. The episode flips, and now we're focused on Charlie escaping the warehouse. I'm not going to fret with details. All you need to know is that she escapes, and ends up at the mall when she notices the SWAT truck parked outside. Once inside, she explains to the group that Virginia will be coming back to mop up what's left of the mall. She knows that this place is full of supplies, but the whole Logan situation took priority. Episode 15. The mall group sets up the shopping mall for siege, whilst Virginia's group prepares to mobilise. If you still want a found footage episode, here's where you can fit it in. Have the shopping mall scenes be found footage, and Virginia's scenes be standard. The mall group comes up with a plan to surround the mall with a herd. Nothing too big they can't fight back if the plan goes sideways, but big enough that Virginia will have to fight her way in. The episode ends with the mall ready for siege, and Virginia rocking up at the gates. Before we get into the finale, this is a group that is very split, being forced to work together. It should be a triumphant moment if they win, but it will be all but that. Virginia's group mows through the herd and right into the mall trap. She's genuinely surprised by the mall group, but she has a trump card, the kids. Virginia isn't taking any chances. The group finds themselves in a standoff once again. Virginia explains the master plan of uniting communities under one banner, one rule. She explains that she's had to make tough choices when communities disagree with her new world order and had to push when valuable resources are on the line, hence the shopping mall and the oil fields. She then addresses Morgan directly. "I saw what you did, Morgan," she says. "You could be a great asset to me." Everyone looks confused. Virginia laughs. "You let Logan die to secure the oil fields for yourself, didn't you? I saw it with my own 2 eyes. So much for helping people who need it." Our group looks at Morgan. "You lied to us," says Alicia. "You get us into this mess, you get Wendell and Grace killed, and then you carry on." The group has turned on Morgan, and he teeters off the edge, turns, and kills Virginia. A firefight immediately breaks out. There are casualties on both sides, but our group makes it out on top. Our casualties are as follows. The kids. They couldn't make it out of the crossfire in time. Luciana. She got bitten by a reanimating corpse in the mayhem. And June. She got shot dragging someone to safety. We also have some mall group redshirt deaths to buff up the numbers. The dust settles, but everything is far from over. Alicia confronts Morgan, the man who got them into the Logan mess, and the man who just kicked off a firefight that killed dozens because his ego was threatened. "Look around. This is you. You lied to us, thought your ego was worth all these lives, was worth Logan's life, was worth Wendell's life, was worth Grace's, Luciana's, June's. I'm sick because of you. You can add me to this mess. You're worse than her," she points to Virginia. At least she was honest and actually wanted something slightly better for the world. The episode ends with Alicia killing Morgan and the dust finally settling. How was that? I know, it's not perfect, but honestly, I think that it's way better than what we actually got for a few reasons. First, we actually have a big change for season 6. Where does our group go now? What happens when Virginia's communities find out? What happens to Alicia? What the hell happened to the CRM? Was Virginia working for them? Secondly, each main element introduced actually adds to the story in some way. The kids are Virginia's leverage in the end. Daniel saves the SWAT group from the roadblocks. The CRM is the reason for our group getting trapped and fuels our internal conflict. Logan plays a part in the ultimate ending of the season. Virginia is an actual foil for Morgan here. I know I was taking this with broad strokes, but seeing this season follow the group as they split apart and make mistakes is far more interesting than every episode being happy. We lose the dumb plot threads from the actual show, like the trees and the Walker roadblocks. We also actually lose a pretty large chunk of our main cast, but there are plenty of people left at the end of the season to fill in the gaps with some development. To recap, in my version, we lost Wendell, Grace, Logan, June, Luciana, the kids from the nuclear zone, and Morgan. In the end, our group now consists of Alicia, Strand, Daniel, John, Althea, Sarah, Charlie, and Dwight. We also don't know where the story will go now. We just killed the lead, and the story could really go anywhere. I'm not claiming to be some genius screenwriter, but if it was my job, and I was given the same framework as Fear's existing season 5, this is what I'd do to try and make it work. Again, this is just me throwing my idea out there. My actual review of Season 5 came out a few days ago. I started writing this video as soon as I hit the upload button. If I can write this in basically a day, imagine what could be achieved with a full pre-production time frame. I'm just a film student. This sort of stuff is way beyond my pay grade. The point of this video was to try and prove that the current plot does have potential. I scrapped the gimmicks and wasn't afraid of the weight that certain decisions would have on our characters. There's no happy ending here, no gimmicks, no baiting the viewer. You don't want to see my Season 6 to find out if Morgan actually dies. You want to see my Season 6 because you have no idea where this story could go now that Morgan is dead. I think that's it. What did you think? If you like this video, make sure to subscribe for more and let me know in the comments. I love every piece of feedback I receive. Okay, next review will be Joker over the weekend. There's a lot of stuff coming out in October, so expect plenty more videos.